This is a Sales Geek Academia to Business Translation production. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's about bridging that gap, isn't it? Taking complex academic sales management research and making it, actually useful for you.
Exactly. We want clear, practical strategies sales leaders can use, like tomorrow, to boost performance. And today, we're really digging into cross-selling.
That's right. And the source material we have is fascinating because it asks a really specific, nuanced question.
It looks at how a manager's feedback style, are they focused on the results, the what, or the methods, how that interacts with the salesperson's own emotional effort, what academics call emotional labor.
And how does that whole mix play out? Does it actually help salespeople cross-sell more effectively and ultimately bring in more revenue?
That's the core question, and the context here is super important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. This isn't your standard B2B office setup. The study looked at 300 door-to-door salespeople, cosmetics, in South Korea.
Right. So think high autonomy, lots of face-to-face, very personal interactions, a lot of emotion involved day to day.
So if you manage a field team, a remote team, anyone working pretty independently, the specifics of this context are really relevant. The limitations, the insights, they speak directly to that world.
Absolutely. So let's break down the key concepts first. We need to be clear on these manager feedback styles.
Okay, first up, output feedback. This is the classic what?
Yeah, purely focused on the measurable results. Did you hit your sales volume? Your revenue goal for the quarter? It's target-driven. Think bonuses, leaderboards, that kind of extrinsic motivation.
Got it. And the other style?
That's behavioral feedback. This is the how. The manager's looking at the strategies, the procedures, how the salesperson interacts with customers.
So coaching the process itself, trying to improve skills, make the role clear, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Coaching the how, not just demanding the what.
And the goal behavior we're tracking here is cross-selling behavior, or CSB.
Right, which is basically getting a customer who's already buying something to buy more stuff-related products, maybe even unrelated ones.
And it's seen as strategic, right? Because it's way more efficient, cheaper to sell more to an existing customer than constantly chasing new ones.
Precisely. It builds loyalty, maximizes value. It's a key lever.
Okay, so let's talk about the direct link. The researchers thought CSB was the bridge, the mechanism connecting the manager's feedback to actual sales revenue.
Yeah, how does the feedback actually translate into dollars through getting salespeople to cross-sell more? That was the hypothesis.
And the first big finding, it seems like focusing on results really paid off here.
It did. Output feedback focusing on those targets did significantly boost sales performance, and CSB was indeed that mediating link. Focusing on the goal worked in this context.
Okay, but here's where it gets interesting, maybe a bit unexpected.
The behavioral feedback, the coaching on how to sell on its own, it did not significantly drive sales performance through cross-selling.
Wait, really? So all that effort managers put into coaching specific techniques, it didn't directly lead to more cross-selling revenue in this study?
Not as a direct mediator, no, which is pretty surprising.
So why? Why would focusing purely on the number be more effective, at least here?
Well, think about the context again. Door-to-door sales, managers can't easily watch every interaction.
Right, they're not sitting beside them.
Exactly. So trying to give really detailed, accurate behavioral feedback is tough. Maybe even counterproductive if it's based on guesswork.
Okay.
Output feedback, though, that's clear. It provides strong motivation, hit this number, get this reward, and it gives the salesperson autonomy, flexibility in how they hit the target.
So if you can't effectively monitor the how, you double down on accountability for the what. Makes sense for autonomous roles.
Pretty much. But that doesn't mean behavioral feedback is useless. It just wasn't the direct driver of CSB here.
So it still has value somehow.
Oh, absolutely. The research suggests it's still a valuable job resource. It helps clarify the role, builds skills, increases proficiency. Its impact just isn't direct in this model. It seems to need something else, like an X factor, to really unlock its potential for driving cross-selling.
Okay, and that hidden factor, that X factor, is the emotional side of the job.
Bingo. Emotional labor. The effort salespeople put into managing their feelings to fit what the organization expects.
Like always being positive and helpful, even on a rough day.
Exactly. And we look at this through the job demands resources model. Managing emotions is a demand. It takes energy, cognitive resources.
And there are different ways salespeople handle this demand, right? Two main ways.
Yes, and they have very different outcomes. First, there's deep acting.
Okay, what's that?
Think of this as the more productive way. It's still effortful, but it's a challenge demand. The salesperson tries to genuinely feel the emotion they need to display.
So they're not just pasting on a smile, they're actually trying to shift their internal state, maybe by focusing on the product's benefits or reframing a tough interaction.
Precisely. It takes work up front, but the result feels authentic to the customer. It builds rapport, reduces that inner conflict for the salesperson. It actually works.
Okay, that's deep acting, genuine effort. What's the alternative?
The alternative is surface acting, and this one is more like a hindrance demand.
Hindrance, meaning it gets in the way.
Yeah. This is faking it, putting on the mask, suppressing your real feelings without changing them underneath. Think forced smiles, scripted empathy.
And the downside?
It's incredibly draining, leads to burnout, cynicism, and crucially for sales, customers can often tell it feels inauthentic, manipulative even, kills trust instantly.
Right, you can usually spot a fake smile a mile off.
Mm.
Okay, so we have these two feedback styles and these two ways of managing emotion.
We are posing to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Because now we're getting into how these things collide, the interplay. And this is where the really surprising results came out.
Yeah, welcome back. The moderation findings, how emotional labor changes the impact of feedback, were, let's say, not always what you'd intuitively expect.
Okay, let's start with one that maybe makes sense. Behavioral feedback coaching, the how, combined with deep acting, genuine emotional effort.
Right. The hypothesis was that deep acting would make behavioral feedback more effective. If you coach someone on how to interact, and they deliver that interaction authentically.
It should work better, right?
And it did. The study supported this. Deep acting strengthened the positive link between behavioral feedback and cross-selling.
So the big takeaway there is, if you're going to invest time in coaching specific behaviors, you also need your team to buy in emotionally, to deliver it genuinely.
Absolutely. Behavioral coaching lands powerfully only when paired with high deep acting. Otherwise, if they're just surface acting the script you gave them, customers see through it, and the whole effort is potentially wasted.
Okay, that clicks. Now for the curveball. Output feedback, focusing on results and deep acting. What happened there?
This is where it got really counterintuitive. The prediction might be, well, genuine effort is always good, right? So deep acting should boost results even when the focus is just on the numbers. But the study found the opposite. Deep acting actually weakened the positive link between output feedback and cross-selling.
Weakened it? How does that work? Why would being genuine hurt results when the focus is just on hitting a target?
Think about cognitive resources, mental energy. When a manager is relentlessly pushing for output, hit the number they need, the salesperson laser focused on that goal. Strategy, efficiency, closing.
Okay.
Asking them to also engage in deep, effortful emotional regulation, genuinely trying to feel positive or empathetic, adds a whole other layer of cognitive load. It splits their focus.
So it's like trying to do two mentally demanding things at once, and performance suffers.
Exactly. The research suggests that when the pressure is purely on results, managers might actually be better off not demanding intense emotional management. Let the salesperson conserve that mental energy purely for hitting the sales target.
Wow. So if it's all about the quota this month, maybe the message is focus on the sale. Don't stress too much about perfectly managing your emotions.
In essence, yes. Allow that emotional freedom to maximize focus on the primary goal, that output.
Okay, that's a big one. Now let's flip to the negative side. Surface acting. Faking it. How did that interact?
Well, as you might guess, surface acting generally isn't great. But the most toxic combination found was surface acting paired with output feedback.
So high pressure on results plus faking emotions.
Yes. That combination strongly weakened the link between output feedback and cross-selling. When a customer feels that pressure for results and senses, the salesperson's emotion is fake.
They feel like they're just being used, like a means to an end.
Precisely. The paper calls it goal-directed opportunistic behavior. The customer feels manipulated, trust is destroyed, and any chance of cross-selling just vanishes.
Makes sense. Did surface acting also damage the link with behavioral feedback?
Interestingly, not significantly in this study. While surface acting is always draining for the salesperson, it didn't significantly weaken the behavioral feedback to CSB link in the way it did with output feedback. The real danger zone seems to be that combination of high results pressure and perceived inauthenticity.
Okay. One last finding before the takeaways. What about using both feedback styles together? Trying to coach the how and push the what really hard at the same time.
Yeah, they looked at that, and the finding was pretty clear. The joint use of both output and behavioral feedback was not helpful for driving cross-selling. It didn't create some kind of positive synergy.
So trying to do everything at once might actually backfire.
It seems like it might just create confusion or conflicting demands. It could reduce intrinsic motivation if the salesperson feels pulled in too many directions. Clarity of focus, either primarily on output or primarily on behavior, with deep acting, appears to be more effective than a muddled hybrid approach, at least based on this study.
Okay, so let's try to pull this all together. What's the big picture for sales leaders listening to this?
The core message seems to be that effective management isn't one size fits all. It really depends on the context, especially salesperson autonomy, and crucially, on the salesperson's emotional approach, their level of authenticity or deep acting.
Right, so based on all that, let's distill it down. What are the key actionable takeaways?
Okay, takeaway number one, and this is crucial for those managing remote or field teams like in the study. Prioritize output feedback when autonomy is high.
Meaning?
If your team works independently, make hitting clear revenue or sales targets the main focus. Tie rewards and accountability directly to those outcomes. It respects their autonomy but keeps them focused on the result.
Okay, output focus for high autonomy teams. What's number two?
Actionable takeaway number two. Couple behavioral coaching with authenticity training. If your strategy involves coaching the house-specific sales techniques, interaction styles, you must also invest in fostering deep acting.
How do you do that?
Things like emotion regulation skills training, mindfulness practices, maybe even just helping them connect more deeply with the purpose or mission behind the product. The point is, behavioral coaching only pays off if the delivery is genuine.
Got it. Coach the how, but also support the heart. What's the final takeaway?
Actionable takeaway number three. Reduce emotional demand when focusing strictly on results. If the primary push is on output, on hitting those numbers.
Ease up on the emotional rules.
Yeah. Don't layer on strict requirements about how they must feel or act emotionally. Give them more freedom in their emotional expression. This conserves their mental energy for the sales task and avoids that opportunistic perception from customers if they feel forced to fake it under pressure.
Makes sense. Focus their energy where you need it most in that scenario.
Exactly. And that leads us to a final thought for you to ponder. If deep acting is so critical for making behavioral coaching effective, what are the best non-monetary ways leaders can actually create a work environment that supports and sustains that capacity for genuine emotional engagement over the long haul, especially in high-pressure sales roles?
Something to definitely think about. How do you build that resilience and authenticity from the ground up? This has been another Sales Geek Academia to Business Translation production.